In today's video, we build new vehicles for and compete in the Rumble in the Rockies Gaslands tournament at Ghengis Con 42. Well, hi everybody, welcome to the channel. This is Lee from skirmishwargames.com, and in about a week or so we're going to be attending Ghengis Con 42 in Aurora, Colorado. That's a local tabletop gaming convention, and one of the events that we've signed up for is Gaslands, Rumble in the Rockies, and that's sort of a mini tournament that's being held there. It's only about 8 players, 2 tables, and I think the top 2 teams on each table will advance to the winner's table for a final showdown. But Lynn and I have signed up for that, so we're looking forward to it, and we're going to build some new vehicles specifically for that competition. So in our last build, we just kind of took some flea market vehicles and then some scraps from around the house. This time around, we specifically picked some new vehicles that we're going to work on, and we're also going to use some of the resin aftermarket bits for guns and armor and things like that. Okay, so for the competition, they're saying you can have one 25-point vehicle per player, and you can use anything from the main book or the time extended 3 expansion, and sponsors and perks are allowed. So my build is going to be a little bit more of a thematic build, kind of built around a vehicle. It may not be the most competitive in the world, but we're going to go for it anyway. So I'm using, some of you may be familiar with this old funny car, armored car model from Hot Wheels called Funny Money. I actually had one of these when I was a kid. Some of the models of this particular car, and there's been a couple of them, were more like an armored car, and so they had armored slats and more rivets. And then some, like this one here, kind of had a flower power pattern on it. It looks like someone has kind of repainted this one in the original sort of plum purple color. But this is going to be the basis for my build. And then I'm going to make an unholy hybrid with this Matchbox vehicle called the Plowitzer. And the reason I like this is this blade and this body here are metal, just like the body of the Funny Money armored car. So somehow I'm going to try to detach this plow and then merge it with the armored body of my Funny Money armored car. And then that leaves me this thing here, which could be a sand rail or something in the future. So that'll be an extra part. And this will be kind of interesting because the posts and the holes do not line up. So there's going to have to be some cutting and some melding at some point to make that all work out. So then for the design of this, I think I'm going to go with a little bit of a chaos theme, because I happen to have in the bits box some chaos emblems and some shields and things like that. Years ago I bought some plastic Chaos Warriors off of eBay, and then the guy, when he sent them, he sent me some of his old sprues as well. So I got some of these little bits lying around. And then there's a Citadel Skulls package, which has a bunch of different skulls in it. And so I have some various skulls and things. And then in kind of keeping with that theme, I have a couple of little 20mm cult figures from Stan Johansson Miniatures. And at least one of these guys should be popping out of the top of the armored car. With a 25 can build, you're a little bit limited, but I'm going to basically use the vehicle as my guide. So it'll be a tractor body, so that's 15 cans. Armored is another 4, a ram is another 4. So that doesn't leave me a whole lot left. And so I think for my last 2 points, rather than putting a machine gun on or something, I'm going to take boarding party, which means that if this vehicle crashes into another one, normally he'd be distracted, but with boarding party you can fire even though you've collided with somebody. And that'll be sort of in line with the theme of these cultists sort of reaching out to stab somebody, you know, if they get within arm's length. So that is my plan, and as always I have to reserve the right to modify it as we go along, because I may get into this, I may pull these apart and find that they just don't fit at all. But for now, that's what I'm planning to do, and these are my bits. Now Lynn is going to tell us a little bit about her Jeep that she's working on here. And what is that? A Jeep Wrangler, I think, yeah, a Jeep Wrangler Superlift from about 2011. And this was like a 95-cent special off the rack, right? Now, nice thing about this vehicle you got here is it looks ready-made for Gaslands. That looks like a nice platform on the top. There's one thing that's a little bit weird about it is these little plastic bubbles on the top. It's almost like packaging. It's like a thin, clear plastic. And that'll probably go away when you disassemble it. But why don't you tell us a little bit about what you have in mind there?
So I haven't quite settled for sure on what I'm going to do with it, but I know there's going to be at least one machine gun. And he's going to be mounted on the top most likely with our little machine gunner guy here. So he'll be up here. Once we pull that out, it'll be a lot flatter, so it'll fit in there. Then I have to decide if it's pointing front or back. I'm also probably going to put a ram on the front, so we've got something a little different. We've got this log wrapped in chains.
Yeah, can I see that?
And then I'll either do a heavy machine gun or some side-mounted machine guns. I haven't quite decided yet, since it's only got 25 cans. Yeah. And then I may end up with boarding party or a second machine gun. We'll have to wait and see. I haven't quite gotten it down there, but I got some cool armor for some windows and stuff, but we're not going to use that as one of our points, just more for looks. This may end up on the back. Haven't quite decided for sure. This will probably end up on the front, over the engine.
Yeah, these are little resin bits that we've accumulated from various manufacturers over time, and I don't remember where all of these came from, but we just kind of looked in the bits pile and pulled out some stuff we thought might be appropriate. Any thought on your color scheme or what's going to happen to that shiny red paint job?
It's definitely not going to be shiny red when it's done. It may be more of a dirty blue, I think.
Okay. All right, so we don't know what the final configuration will be yet, but there's probably going to be some machine guns on it.
Definitely at least one.
All right, so we're going to get to our disassembly process. We have a few days before the tournament, but we want to make sure we're finished. So we're going to disassemble and show you the process of putting our vehicles together, and then you can judge whether our final product had any relation to what we originally planned, and you know how that goes. All right, let's get to it.
Let's get to it.
Okay, I start out by drilling out the posts on the pulverizer, and because they were plastic, they drilled out just like butter. Okay, so the pulverizer is made up of three parts. There's the undercarriage, there's the driver compartment and the fenders, and then there's the cab. And of these, we're only going to use one or maybe two. At this point, I'm thinking maybe I can attach the armored car body directly to the undercarriage. So we've drilled out and disassembled the Jeep Wrangler Superlift, and as you can see, it has a nice little platform on top for a mounted gun.
And here's that luggage compartment piece, all in one, easily removable, to be discarded.
And because the posts on my Hot Wheels armored car body aren't going to match the holes in the Matchbox plow, we're going to have to cut them away with a Dremel tool. That does allow for a more precise fit, but I am worried about the oversized wheels of the plow fitting the wheel wells of the armored car.
Using the Dremel's wire brush, I'm going to rough up that red paint and get it ready for its base coat.
Yeah, I'm going to scuff up the armored car as well, just to make sure that I get good adhesion with my primer coat.
Wrangler Superlift, scuffed, disassembled, and ready for its base coat.
Okay, so you've just finished kind of using the wire brush to scuff up the paint a little bit. And now what? What's going to be going on now?
I'm going to put some of the miscellaneous pieces on before we give it an undercoat. So to attach all the little bits, I'm going to use steel stick, which sets up a lot faster than green stuff. I'm going to attach the back armor plate with the steel stick here and trim away the excess. When I removed that clear plastic insert, I ended up with an extra hole there, so I'm covering it up with some armor that actually looks like a light bar. Looking pretty good. Now it's time to give the gunner something to stand on. Now to grab my favorite repurposed material, the handy dandy gift card. Now to test the fit and make sure he won't fall through. That looks good. Now time to grab the super glue and make sure it stays put. So hitting all the edges with the super glue, and in it goes. Looks like a nice fit. Time to head out into the cold, 20-degree weather. Do some undercoating. We got 2 different colors of copper to spray on there. It's a little windy, so we're getting some interesting patterns too. It's looking kind of cool. Almost ready. A little bit more. I was thinking of going over it with blue, but I'm liking the look of this. It reminds me of Gaslands. Time to assemble and weaponize my car. The trickiest part was getting those side guns mounted. I was having trouble getting them in there, so I ended up using steel stick to just hold them in place, stuck them to the roof. Fortunately, there was a tab on the ram, so I cut a slot in the undercarriage using the Dremel, then I attached it with some more steel stick. It can be pretty dangerous out there, so I want to protect my driver and gunners, so I'm putting some armor plating over the windows. And yes, it may reduce visibility, but it's much better than a stray bullet to the chest. Time for final assembly. I did have to shave off the seats to fit because of all the steel stick holding in the guns there on the side. Then attach the base. It snaps in there nicely. Looking good. We're missing something. What is it? What? Oh yeah, the gunner. We need the gunner on the top. I still got to prime him and paint him. And then we'll attach him to the top and we'll be ready to go.
Well, it's time for me to start building my armored chaos plow, and as you can see, I've ground out quite a bit of metal to try to make everything fit. At this point, I'm gravitating toward trying to use the plow's middle layer. That's the driver's compartment with the giant fenders. Ultimately, I think that'll look a lot better than just trying to lay the armored car body on top of the undercarriage. The challenge is those fenders are just way too big for the armored car wheel wells. Okay, we're back, and as you can see, I bit the bullet and I chopped off the fenders to the plow to make it a little less absurd. So now it looks like this, and those big oversized fenders are gone, and then so it's obviously jacked up, but it's not pressing on those oversized fenders anymore. So I'm thinking I'm liking that. I think that's going to work out pretty good. Okay, so now that we got the car body and the chassis more or less figured out, next step is to install some Chaos Bling, and then start priming everything and then getting onto the paint. So here's a giant horn skull from the Citadel Skulls collection. This will be our hood ornament. Now, because this version of Funny Money has perfectly flat sides, we can glue on some bits from the Chaos Warrior sprues I talked about earlier. And that's a Chaos Warrior shield I'm going to glue on the armored car hatch on the back. Now that all the Chaos Bling has been glued into place, we're going to hit the armored car with some rattle can black primer. That's looking pretty good. You can even see some scuff marks from the Dremel tool wire brush we used at the beginning. Next, I spray some metallic Rust-Oleum on the Plow-Verizer's undercarriage and the driver's compartment. Now we're going to spray our primed armored car body with some apple red. So yeah, it's about 20 degrees outside and it's starting to snow, but we're on a timetable, so we're not going to let that stop us. While he's drying in the garage, I'm going to move on and start painting some other parts. This Stan Johansson cultist miniature will be standing in the top hatch of the armored car. I also painted the Plow-Verizer wheels and made myself some sturdy new axles out of paper clips. Here's our painted plow and undercarriage. And here's the Plow-Verizer driver's compartment with the fenders and the seat back trimmed off. Okay, we gave the armored car a dark wash, I painted all the Chaos Bling, and now it's time for final assembly. Alright, so we're getting a little bit of a snowstorm here overnight, so hopefully the commute to Ghengis Con tomorrow won't be too bad. So we are scheduled to attend and participate in the Ghengis Con Rumble in the Rockies Gaslands mini tournament. Now we do not know what the scenario is going to be, so it could be anything, a death race, a zombie bash, something else they come up with. So we just kind of built our cars, our 25 can vehicles, and Lynn, yours was based off of this, this Matchbox Jeep here, which had a nice little gun platform on the top already kind of built in. And so this is what you did with it. So this is what, the Rambunctious Hooligans, is that correct?
Rambunctious Hooligans.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about your vehicle. What's it armed with?
It's got the ram on the front, which is 4 points. It's got the side-mounted machine guns, which are 2, and the front-facing machine gunner, which is also 2. And then I took boarding party rather than doing the heavy machine gun, just since I'm going to be bashing people. I wanted to be able to, shoot them after I bash them.
Yeah, so with boarding party, you can ram them, you can be distracted, or they can ram you, but you can still shoot at them. You don't have the distraction rule. All right, cool. So there's the transformation between, this is the end result, and here was your original. Pretty striking difference there. So yeah, you turn the luggage compartment basically into a gunnery platform.
Yes.
All right. So mine, this is an actual Hot Wheel I had when I was a kid. This is Funny Money. This is an armored car, funny car, so I guess you would call it an armored performance vehicle. But I found another copy of it on eBay that had been repainted, so they didn't want very much for it. So I wanted to take that and combine it with this Matchbox plow. Don't ask me why. But the end result of that unholy hybrid was this. And we're just going to call this one Red Crush. So basically this is the undercarriage of the plow with the fenders trimmed away, and then I had to shave down some of the armored car to make it fit as well. And then the armored car is sandwiched on top. There's 3 layers with about a pound of green stuff holding it all together. So that's what we got here, and mine is really more of a thematic build. I chose the options based on what the vehicle looked like. So it is probably not the most competitive build in the world. Because he looks like he's armored, we gave him armor. Because it's got a plow, we gave him a ram. So it's a truck, it's a 15-can truck with 4 points for armor, 4 points for the ram, and then boarding party, because I think all I'm going to be able to do is crash into people, so I want to be able to shoot them if I've collided with them, or vice versa. So that's where we stand tonight. Fortunately, our vehicles are finished, and tomorrow we head out to the tournament, and I don't know, you think we'll crash our way to the top of the heap?
We can hope.
We can hope. Okay, so hang on for a few seconds, and we'll show you Rumble in the Rockies at Ghengis Con 42 and see how we did. Okay, here we are at Gaslands Rumble in the Rockies at Ghengis Con 42. This is a mini tournament sponsored by local gamers Mark Garcy and Chris Fuchs. Okay, here I am in the starting gate on the gray table.
And here I am, starting out on the toxic table.
There are 4 teams per table, and here's the green car on the gray table. I think he has a flamethrower. And you get points by destroying mini turrets, so I ran into one and managed to destroy it, but it smashed back for 2 points, so I'm already wounded.
And I'm lining up to take out a turret as well.
And it looks like I'm going to partake of a slide to get around some of these barriers. That'll take me to the outside loop of the track. So you can just barely see me in the lower left corner while the other cars are all kind of converging on the center. That car toward the upper left that's hitting the turret is actually going to be swapped out for a Mad Max type car.
So I'm closing in on my first target. Going to try and take out the turret with a smash attack. And I did manage to take it out.
Executing a turn. I've already taken 2 hull points from smashing that turret, but I've got 12 hull points left, so I'm not too worried. Okay, Tyrannosaurus Rocket there on the left is about to have a confrontation with Scorpion King there on the right. They're both driving at very high speeds. So they've closed in on each other, and looks like Scorpion King is colliding head-on with Tyrannosaurus Rocket. That's going to be a 9-dice collision. So here I am just kind of cruising around, minding my own business, looking for another turret to smash. So they collided with each other. They did 7 points each to each other, which killed Scorpion King. Then he exploded, and then he took out Tyrannosaurus Rocket. But because they both died in the first hour, they both get to respawn, though they will lose some victory points.
So now that they're all converging on each other, I'm going to try to sneak around that shipping container and bring my ram into play and get some smashing done. The Warthog is trying to sneak past that ram on the red truck. That way he can use his turret from the side to do some damage.
Yeah, so this is cool. There's only 2 cars left, me and the green car, but unfortunately the other cars are about ready to respawn.
I really want to give my ram some action, but unfortunately the red truck gets to move before I do.
Okay, here's where things start to go completely bonkers. So Tyrannosaurus Rocket respawns right in front of me. On his activation, he moves forward and shoots me with a front-facing rocket. He rolls 6 dice and does 8 hull points of damage. I somehow managed to evade 2 and pass my wipeout test, but that still brings me down to just 6 hull points. Nonetheless, I prepared a ram. Meanwhile, the Scorpion King has turned his attentions to the green car.
Looks like I won't be able to bring my ram into play this turn, but the machine guns are locked and loaded.
Okay, it looks like the Scorpion King has managed to slide parallel to the green car, and he's about to deploy his side-mounted caltrops. Sadly, these don't connect, and the green car veers away.
So the red truck smashes, but in the process he wrecks. But he manages to get in just under the wire and is able to respawn.
Okay, it's a head-on collision. I smash with 8 dice because I have a ram, and Tyrannosaurus Rocket smashes back with 6 dice. I do 4 hull points of damage to him, and somehow he manages to do 7 hull points of damage to me, killing me. And since we are just over an hour into the tournament, I cannot respawn, so I am out.
The Warthog is on his escape path. He took a long straight to get away from my ram.
My demise means there's just 3 cars left on the gray table.
Since a truck can only go to 4th gear, I'm going to take my medium straight and see if I can get my guns in range of the Warthog. The straight long took the Warthog a little close to out of bounds. Trying to turn out of it, he ran into a barricade and wrecked, denying me my chance at an extra 10 kill points. And on the other side of the board, the newly respawned red truck has also run into a barricade.
So on the other table, it looks like somebody has wrecked the green car. And the Scorpion King has dropped a load of caltrops right in front of Tyrannosaurus Rocket.
Having lost out on the chance at my 10 kill points from the Warthog, I'm going to take out my frustrations on the nearby turret.
Okay, looks like Tyrannosaurus Rocket is going to try to back away from the caltrops, but in so doing, he goes out of bounds and explodes, so he's out of the game. Scorpion King wins the day.
We're down to 2 trucks, both of us in 4th gear, both of us with rams. We both want to be behind the other one, so he's going to take out those barrels and see if he can bring his ram into play. I'm going to try to get out of the way, and I just squeak forward enough that he can't hit me with his ram. Trying to avoid going out of bounds, he ends up turning and hitting the sign, which causes him to wreck.
Winner! Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
So on the gray table for the finals, I'm in the starting gate and ready to rumble. And my strategy is stay out of range of those rockets.
So the hooligans will be facing off against the Warthog here, as well as Tyrannosaurus Rocket and the Scorpion King.
Tyrannosaurus Rocket is heading out of his corner with the Warthog in his sights. There was some rocket fire, so the Warthog may be damaged. And now it looks like a collision is imminent.
So in this round, the turrets are indestructible, and if anyone comes within medium range, they attack with 3 dice.
Scorpion King is headed for Tyrannosaurus Rocket, and I'm headed for Scorpion King.
So Tyrannosaurus Rocket collides with the Warthog. Then he wipes out and crashes into the shipping container. Then the Warthog drives straight into the barriers, wrecks, and gets to respawn because we're in the first half hour of this round.
Scorpion King wants to get in the fray, so he's using a long straight to get on the move.
He took a spin to get around the corner, and now he's drawing a bead on Tyrannosaurus Rocket.
The Warthog moves and fires. Since Tyrannosaurus Rocket is in 1st gear, he can back up, and now he's lined up to use his rockets on the Warthog.
So the Warthog has survived, and now he's going to come up alongside Tyrannosaurus Rocket and unleash his turret.
Scorpion King gets his chance to jump into the fray. He swerves in and drops some caltrops.
He's also going to unleash a close-range hail of bullets.
I'm trying to make it over to the action. I used a slide which got me around the corner. Didn't quite get me out of range of the turret, though.
While the rest of the competitors duke it out in the upper left-hand side of the screen, their rambunctious hooligans approach from the lower right. Tyrannosaurus Rocket careens into Scorpion King. Scorpion King survives the collision, takes a gentle turn, and then searches for a target, but unfortunately no one's in his firing arc.
Finally, I make it to the action and take aim on the Warthog. The Warthog survives my machine gun fire, takes cover behind the barricade, and then fires at Tyrannosaurus Rocket. Since the Warthog wasn't able to eliminate him, I move in and try to finish the job.
Big bada boom.
Let's have 360.
My gunners were in top form, Tyrannosaurus wrecked, and I got my 10 victory points. So we are in 4th gear now, and I have pole position. They just forgot to flip the big red die. So I'm going to do a gentle turn and fire at the Warthog.
Oh my goodness! 6, 7. Sad. You flip to there, and you become a wreck.
Cool.
So Scorpion King is in 5th gear and trying to stay in bounds. So he takes a gentle turn, which is one hazard, takes a spin, which is another hazard, but blows his wipeout check, flips, loses his final 2 hull points, and wrecks. And that's the game. So, Lynn, any advice for young Gaslanders out there?
Keep away from those rockets and come in with guns blazing.
Well, folks, we hope you enjoyed watching us make some new Gaslands vehicles and take them to Ghengis Con. If you like the things we do, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and visit us online at our website, skirmishwargames.com.